Welcome to Merlin's Nights of Sports, episode number 2 podcast, The Unseen Road. For the purpose of this podcast, I would like you to imagine that this voice you are listening to is in fact the voice of Merlin. And so, from the kingdom of Camelot, it's only appropriate that this journey goes on with Merlin. Because in episode 1, you discovered Merlin and how Merlin began at 30 Rock with the mini-movie by NBC, Merlin. And for all the youth around the world, this particular podcast and the future ones are hopefully here to inspire you to unleash the Merlin which all of you have, to create the magic in this world and fulfill your every desire and dream and aspiration to succeed in business, in art, in filmmaking, in music. Whatever you dream, you can do it. Because this story is really an example of how we began as Merlins, and how there was no Merlins, but it was a discovery on a path unknown, not knowing how to do it, but we did it and made it into reality. So you can all do it. So this journey began with basically Seagram's asking Merlin to come along on a journey to Sweden, to the land of the Vikings, to help in any way that Merlin could with his magic in helping them acquire a Swedish vodka. This particular vodka was called Absolut. So Merlin journeyed with Seagram's America, and we went to Sweden. And we landed in Stockholm. And upon landing in Stockholm, where Merlin already had friends and relationships, Merlin decided to introduce Seagram's America to someone he knew. Every deal has its ups, its downs, and there are going to be hiccups, but you always have to have someone beside you, aligned with you, that can possibly jump in and help smooth the waters to the conclusion of the acquisition. In this particular case, Investor AB decided they were going to help Seagram's America smooth out the waters, because Absolut Vodka was owned not by a private company. It was, in fact, owned by the government of Sweden. Bells go off in Merlin's head. What did he just say? He owned a beverage company? I'm coming here to see a beverage company. And the gentleman then expanded upon it a little bit more, because Merlin asked, what was his beverage company? And this gentleman then responded, well, I started a company called Nantucket Nectars, and I just sold it a few months ago for a couple of $100 million. And now I'm trying to just take my time, stay at the Four Seasons, figure out what I'm going to do with my life and the next chapter. This was really clicking in the brain. It was sort of like a puzzle, all these puzzle pieces lying around, and one after another, they were all fitting in. Now, this guy just sold a drink for a couple of $100 million. I wonder if I could do that with that drink called Magic that I just found in Sweden and make a couple of $100 million. So that was sort of the trigger that started the journey. And then going to the Seagram event, Merlin observed that Seagram had all the Absolut Vodkas, and Seagram had all their other alcoholic beverage lines also there at the bar for this event. And these were Crown Royal, Don Julio Tequila, Captain Morgan Rum, and a few others. And Merlin was, let's see how they do this. Seagram was very clear how they were going to position the brand Absolut in the United States. They were going to go after art galleries, fashion designers and fashion shows, music events, and film, basically Hollywood. So Merlin looked at this, thought about it, and observed this, made all mental notes, and traveled back to California, to Beverly Hills, and reconvened the group that he had introduced magic to. And they all came and they said, "What's up? What's going on? What did you find? What was going on with Seagram's?" And Merlin said, "Well, you know what? I met a gentleman who invented or created Nantucket Nectars and sold it for a few $100 million. And I saw how Absolut is being positioned, and we are right here in LA, in Hollywood. So why don't we talk to Seagram about if they will back us up, give us some money to start a new company, a new beverage based on that magic drink we found in Sweden?" So everybody thought about this for a while, and they said, "Well, you obviously have a relationship, so you should definitely give that a shot." So we opened another can of magic, and we opened this magic can, and then questions started to arise. This was the sort of due diligence. It tasted really good, but what created that small foam head on top that looked like Guinness? Well, guess what? That was a flavoring inside it called the egg white. So right away, because everybody's from California and everybody's very health conscious, they just went, "Well, that can't be. We can't have egg white. Nobody's going to drink it." And so we go, okay, minus egg white. What else does it have in it that we like? And we noticed that two of the ingredients were guarana. Now, guarana is a seed from Brazil. It grows in the forest, in the Brazilian rainforest. And it is a seed that's like a coffee bean. It gives you a high. But it doesn't drop you like coffee. So, what was the balancing act in this beverage? Well, it was ginseng. Wow. So guarana is the one that kind of wakes your body and system up, and ginseng is the combination that sort of balances you out. Well, the rest is water, but oh my God, what is this on the can? Well, guess what? It was called high fructose corn syrup. No. This can't, there's no way we can have high fructose corn syrup. So, having made those initial decisions with this group about yes to guarana, yes to ginseng, no to high fructose corn syrup, no to egg white, I wonder what else flavoring we can come up with to sort of complement what we had tasted in this can of magic, but that would be similar but better. So we went to work. But we had no idea what to do. We really didn't. We didn't know that, we should hire a lab, and that there was even such a thing. It wasn't like you had Google like readily available. It wasn't even around. So it hadn't even been invented. And so there wasn't like you could just punch Google, what do I do? There was no such thing. So everybody sat around and said, we should hire a lab. And there's a flavor lab that somebody had found, and Merlin's assistant actually had found it. And there was this lab and we said, can we make a formula? And they said, of course, that's what we do. We roam around in white coats and we're scientists, and that's what we do. We create formulas. So we said, okay, here's the rule. We want pure cane sugar. We want a taste that's something like ginger ale, but, peach, apple, pear, fruity, so that when you put it to your nose, the aroma is really nice, no foam, and we don't really want carbonation, but we really like the way this magic drink poured and it looked like champagne, so we want it to have kind of like a champagne bubbles that rise up, but very little carbonation. And the reason we want very little carbonation is because our master plan is to go back to Seagram and say to them, will you help us, fund us, launch this drink? And we think we could be the non-alcoholic partner that can be mixed with all the spirits they own, especially Absolut, since they're pushing Absolut so much. And we can piggyback on that. So they said, for sure, we can create the formula. Well, pretty soon, these boxes start to arrive. They're little boxes, and they arrive at your door. You open them, and there's a couple of vials in them of beverages to try. And you open each one, and you try it. You open each one. Well, the first round was no. Nothing in that package was suiting our palate. Next package arrived. Nope. Next package arrived. Nope. Refine this, tweak this, do this. They would. And slowly, like over a period of 2 months, finally, we hit jackpot. They had gotten the flavor, just like everybody in the room had wanted. Merlin gets on the plane. Off he goes to New York City, to Seagram's America's office, and meets with the executives of their non-alcoholic division. I thought they just sold alcohol, but they actually had a non-alcoholic division with a very small portfolio. And they weren't doing much with it. So Merlin went, look, guys, why don't you give me some money, and I'm going to start this drink, and we don't even have a name for it yet, but we're going to launch it. Do you think you guys will want to do that? Or maybe buy us at a later date? The Seagram executive looked at Merlin and said, listen, we're not going to give you the money because we're not into starting beverages. We're into acquiring already existing proven beverages that we can take who haven't really hit the peak of the market yet, and we know how to get them there because that's our forte. So we went, okay, so what are you saying to me? Prove to us that you can put it in stores, put it in restaurants. That's very important to us. We don't care that much about stores, but that you can put it in bars and restaurants. And, if you can do that successfully, let's talk. We will, if you can prove that, we'll buy you. And then we will take it to the next level. All right, that makes sense. But, hey, do you think that if we started it and created it, bottled it or canned it, we could actually maybe team up with your team in California, in Hollywood, that's having parties all the time at all these Hollywood premieres and Golden Globes and Oscars and the music awards and the Grammys, etc. And we could basically get our beverage and you could mix it with it as a mixer. And we could maybe even coordinate a menu that we could have at bars and restaurants. Well, the Seagram executive just went well, yeah, that's a great idea. And yes, we would be open to that because it really helps us to be affiliated with a non-alcoholic beverage that our intention would be to acquire you at a later date. So, yeah, that'd be interesting. But let's see what you come up with. And is it any good? Is it even any good? And it has to pass the muster with all the marketing guys in California who handle the brand Absolut. Well, that was reassuring. Ready to take the gamble. All right? So off you go. You take the money out of the vault and off you go, and you go, well, here it is. Let's go take this. It might as well play roulette at a casino table in Las Vegas. Really, because we had no clue where we were going. All we knew is that if they liked it, we could market with them, which was a huge advantage because we didn't have that kind of money. Seagram's America made $1 billion a year on dividends. They got a dividend payment every year for $1 billion because of their investment in a company called DuPont. Yeah, $1 billion. Can you believe that? It's true. So, boom, off we went, and we found a lab. Our lab partner said, we know who can fill it. Do you want to do it in a big, thick can like Coca-Cola and Budweiser? Or, there's this another guy coming out with a drink. We've been working with him. It's called Rockstar. Or do you want to go the Red Bull way, who are big in Europe, but they're coming into America pretty soon? And they have an 8.4 ounce slim can. And we know who makes it. We know who can fill it. So it's up to you. You decide. We sat down and we looked and we said, no, the slim can. It's sleek, it's small, it's sexy, fits in the fridge, can fit in a mini bar. Because guess what, guys? We're going to go push this in all the luxury hotels in LA. So off we went, found the factory called Ball Metal Company in San Francisco. And what they do is they make the cans. Now, they make cans for a lot of different companies, but over a period of time, once they run all these other cans, they do what they call a switch over the line. They don't have a dedicated line for manufacturing an 8.4 ounce slim can because it was not that huge a market. I mean, look around you. Everybody carries those big cans, and look at all the cars with the coffee cups. They're all for the big can. Nobody has these 8.4 ounce slim cans, so they don't dedicate a line for that. So after they run off all these big cans, the engineers come in and they switch the line to manufacture the 8.4 ounce can, and you only have a short window to put your order in and get those cans made. So you got to make as many as you can, because filling is another situation, filling the can. Again, the same mechanics apply. The factory that does the filling, it doesn't do the filling like every single day, because they're filling those big cans, the 12-ounce cans and all that stuff. So these slim cans only get a certain window to pop in, get filled. So we were set. The artwork was done by a very talented designer in Toronto, Canada, by the name of Del Terlong. And Del had done this design. He had been designing hotels. He's been designing restaurants. He had designed, shopping malls and luxury stores for Japanese customers in Tokyo. So we liked his aesthetic, plus we knew him. And so Merlin commissioned him to come up with the initial design. But there was still, before that, was a discovery of the name. What are we going to call it? The drink we discovered was called Magic, but what are we going to call this? Well, you know what we're going to call it? There's a book right there on the shelf. look at this book. It says The Return of Merlin. And we discovered magic, and Merlin was all about magic. I mean, he created magic. He formulated elixirs for King Arthur, the kings of the Round Table, and there's the book. I mean, it's looking us right in the face, as if like calling to us, saying, "Name this drink, Merlin." But of course, we couldn't use the word Merlin. Everybody had the name Merlin this, Merlin that, so we called it Merlins, Merlins. And then, what should we say? Energy? No. Energy source. Because Merlin was always the source to give King Arthur the source with the Excalibur sword. Merlin was the sword in the kingdom of Camelot. So we came up with all the names, we came up with the ingredients, we had everything set. Off to the factory we went to San Francisco, filled the can. As we come out, there goes down the road a public transit bus, and on it, it says, Merlin, NBC. And we went, are you kidding me? Oh my God. I mean, think about it, guys. You get on a journey to Stockholm, Sweden, with someone else for another mission. You segue into a discovery of a drink called magic. You have a book on the shelf sitting there that says Merlin, and so you decide that's the name you're going to adopt. And then when you actually invest all your money, basically, it's make or break time. And there it is, looking you right in the face. Merlin, this is how magical the universe can be. Yeah, it wasn't really a smooth ride. I mean, there had to be, look, Seagram said no, but they didn't say no completely. They did say, yes, you can mix with our brands and you can sell and market with us. So that was a big plus. But, I mean, how everything started to fall in place was sort of like the universe saying, you're on the path. So now we recognize this because, see, consciously, you have to be aware constantly of all the steps you're taking and look into those minute details that are signaling you. Are you on the wrong path or are you in the correct path? So here we go. And that's when you pick up a phone and you call your friend. And that's when Merlin picked up the phone and said, let me call my friend Danny Sarnoff. Now, Danny Sarnoff, as you heard in episode 1, his grandfather, General David Sarnoff, started NBC. You see what I'm saying? How crazy this story is? And that's really how it goes. And so, Danny, I need help. I just saw a bus go by, and the bus said NBC Merlin. Do you think you can call them up and maybe we can get a shot at them? He said, sure. And that's when, in episode 1, we sent a case to Burbank and 2 cases over to New York, Rockefeller Center. And that's how we ended up at 30 Rock. But the best other part was, as before we were at 30 Rock, before we were in other stores, Seagram's Absolut guys, they ended up loving the drink. They just loved it. But they were very finicky. They were very conscious of the fact that they didn't want to take attention away from the brand that they were just paid $1 billion to do. And so what they didn't want was to dilute their brand by showcasing us too much. But we played it really cool, really calm, and we did it. And the first party we had that was with Seagrams was the opening of the Virgin mega store in Hollywood on the corner of Sunset and Crescent Heights. So off we go to this party. All the Merlin is set there. All the cocktails are there. Absolut is being poured. Some people are going, what is this? And the Seagram guys are going, not the Merlin guys, Seagram guys. Seagram guys goes like, go talk to these people. These are the Merlin people. And that's when these ladies from Merlin stepped in. And I want to tell you that 98% of the people who worked with Merlin's energy source were women. 98%. There was like literally 3 guys. Everybody else, no. And, because Merlin always believed empowerment. And, of course, who are you going to listen more to? Some guy trying to tell you what this thing is, or a girl trying to tell you what this is? And these girls knew their stuff, man, because these were women who were really into health, into fitness. They grew up in California, so they kind of knew the ins and outs. As we're doing all this, there's a guy, because remember, this is Merlin's energy source. It's just been launched with NBC 30 Rock with a series called Merlin, who has Merlin, Camelot, the Knights of the Round Table, all that stuff. But right there at this party is a real living knight. Real living knight. Yes. And he is still around, and he's still making his mark, and he is one hell of a fun guy, and he's a great guy. And his name is Sir, which is a name you are knighted. When you're knighted, you get Sir Richard Branson. And what's Sir Richard Branson doing? He's dressed up in a piratey kind of outfit, and he is standing on the roof of the Virgin Mega Store. Now, he's not going to bungee jump, but he's going to, there's a wire and a pulley, and he's going to fly down to the ground, to the party in a pulley with a sword in his hand. Oh, come on. That's Richard Branson doing this. He's a real living knight. And then right away he lands. Boom. Merlin approaches him and says, Richard, come over here. We'll let you have a drink. He heads straight to the bar. And the first cocktail he had was an Absolut Merlin cocktail. We never got the opportunity to ask him if he liked it or not, or explore anything else with him. But that's how that ended. And that's how this episode ends. All about magic.